Now, I'd like to make a few extra suggestions here and maybe point out a few exceptions to some of the things I said earlier. Now, regarding ties, there are some house styles which show that ties in this situation is going to be placed inside the note head like this, and on this end like this. Now this is fine as long as you're consistent with it. I think maybe if you have this situation, you can see there that the tie is actually on top of the staff line, which I like to avoid that if at all possible. In other words, I say it can be tangent to it, but it shouldn't be directly on it. So you have to flatten that tie a little bit. I would like to point out a little more about how the tie should be placed. So I said that the tie generally with a single note should point to the center of the note head. Should be vertically aligned with the middle of the note, say in this spot. But as you see in this case, you must by necessity point to the inside of the note in both cases, especially when the stem is involved. And in this case, the tie is not at the end of the stems. Even if when it's on the stem side, it needs to be down closer to the note. So you don't want a situation like this where this tie is up there. That's too far away. It looks more like a slur in that case. And neither do you want the tie extending over like that into the note, even though I said vertically aligned with the center. In this case, where the stem is involved, it needs to be back like this, close to the note as feasible in the particular situation. Now, what I said about ties should apply to slurs as well. So here you have a slur going into a stem. So you want this to connect like I'm showing it. But here, if you do this, this is not good. So you have the slur extending too far over the stem. Now here, the slur can align with the center of the note head. That's fine. But you want this to be positioned on the inside. And in this case too, on the inside. But the other end is pointing to the note head. Here it's on the stem. When it's against the stem, it should be close to the stem. When it's over the note head, it should be aligned with the center. Now also I want to add something about slurs with articulation. Now I showed this where I said to be consistent, putting all the articulation inside of the slur, and this having it mixed. But this is rather odd because to have accents inside of a slur. Not to say that it couldn't happen, but if we want to get one accent on the first note, I suggest, well, that the accent should be on the outside of the slur. And in this case, the slur should not touch that line. It should start in that space. So that is the correct positioning for an accent at the start of a slur. Now let me say one more thing about spacing. Here where we had the flat next to a key signature, we didn't want to confuse that flat might belong to the key signature. But even without that flat, let's take that flat away, I still want to keep that space as it was, as if the flat were there. So we have equivalent to 2 spaces now before the first note in front of the key signature. Now here's another caveat about clefs that change in mid-measure. So what I want to do first of all is change this. Let's put a note there, and then I want to change it to a quarter note, or an eighth note rather. Now what I want to do is change the clef in between like that. Now I said it should be placed before the beat where it goes into effect, but here is an exception to that. You could do this, and this is probably going to occur more in keyboard music than in single instrumental parts.